Infiniti just provided the answer to a question nobody asked, and the resulting trip through time, with a few modern touches, is really quite interesting. Infiniti unveiled the Prototype 9 concept ahead of its debut at the 2017 Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. It's basically a retcon of motoring history, with Infiniti's craftsmen wondering what a 1940s Roadchecker would look like if it were designed today, built using old-school methods and containing a next-gen Nissan Leaf drivetrain. The car was not built in a factory by robots. Infiniti instead relied on Nissan's stable of Japanese craftsmen, who assembled to build this car by hand in a quiet corner of Nissan's research center in Yokohama. The steel body panels were shaped with hammers, and the tires are the old-school bias-ply type, in keeping with the historical aspect of it. The interior is equally well-crafted. The exposed cockpit features black leather with red contrast stitching, an aluminum steering wheel hub, an instrument panel, and that's about it. After all, race cars in the 1940s didn't have screens all over the place and other types of high-tech frippery. Underneath the steel body panels and steel ladder frame lies a powertrain from a next-generation EV that's probably the 2018 Nissan Leaf. Its single electric motor is bolted to the rear wheels via a single-speed transmission, and it puts out 148 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. It'll hit 60 mph in 5.5 seconds and should last about 20 minutes on the track with a heavy right foot. The design is stunning, although I personally believe the grille is a step too far. It's not often that automakers reach this far back in time for new concepts, but we're glad Infiniti did.
Infiniti has revealed its What If Prototype 9 race car ahead of the festivities of the Monterey Car Week. We must admit, for a flight of fancy what might have been Grand Prix racer, this thing is pretty cool. The concept started with the idea of running across a forgotten race car in a barn in the Japanese countryside. From there, Alfonso Albaisa, Senior Vice President, Global Design, made a design sketch inspired by roadsters and aircraft of the era. Soon, many on the design team were giving their input, and then word got out beyond the design team to production, who volunteered to build it. The project was moved to the Nissan Research Center in Apama, Japan, where a team of Takumi, the same master craftspeople who build cars like the Nissan GT-R, set to building it. The Takumi literally hammered the bare metal steel body panels around a steel ladder frame sporting a 106.3-inch wheelbase. For the suspension, Infiniti chose period pieces. Up front is a leading arm rigid axle with a transverse leaf spring. Out back is a Dion axle with another transverse leaf spring. The steering isn't power assisted, and the brakes aren't boosted, though discs are found at all four corners. The tires are Crossply 450-19 fronts and 650-19 rears mounted on center locking wire wheels. For the interior, the Takumi chose the best materials and tailored them to bring out their best characteristics. They chose black leather with red contrast stitching and sewed Japanese flags into the seat. We'll ignore for now that Japan was an Axis power during this era. When Nissan Motor Corporation's powertrain engineers heard about the project, the Prototype 9 took a left turn. Instead of a period internal combustion engine, they went with a modern electric powertrain. In fact, this power plant has yet to be used in any Nissan or Infiniti car. It consists of a 30 kWh battery teamed with a prototype electric motor that produces 148 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque. The power is sent to the rear wheels via a single-speed transmission. Weighing in at just 1,962 pounds, Infiniti says the Prototype 9 has a top speed of 105.6 mph, can sprint from 0 to 62 mph in 5.5 seconds, and can handle 20 minutes of heavy track use before running out of juice. Infiniti isn't saying how many miles it can drive at highway speeds. The Prototype 9 will make its public debut this week at the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. It will be shown alongside a real race car from Infiniti parent Nissan's past, the Prince R380 of the 1960s.
Infiniti is far from the first luxury automotive brand to show off an electric car concept in the wake of fending off Tesla and other startups, but Nissan's upscale division has taken the 2018 Leaf's heart and run in a very different direction. This is the Infiniti Prototype 9, a design concept due to be shown this week at the 2017 Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance near Monterey, California. But under the vintage-looking clothes of the Prototype 9, lies the powertrain from the 2018 Nissan Leaf. A 148 horsepower electric motor, with 236 pound-feet of torque, and a 30 kWh battery, powers the rear wheels through a single-speed transmission, according to Infiniti. Interestingly enough, that sounds a lot like the electric motor that's set to power the front wheels of the new Leaf, based on vehicle specifications that were leaked last week. Therefore, in this Infiniti design project, it's built as a next-generation EV powertrain. Still, its performance may bode well for the upcoming Nissan Leaf. Infiniti says their Prototype 9 has a top speed of 106 mph, with a 0 to 62 time of 5.5 seconds. Spend all your charge on a racetrack, and Infiniti says the Prototype 9 should last up to 20 minutes, without actually giving a number of miles it might last. The Infiniti Prototype 9 is packing Nissan's newest EV technology under a striking body, mixing old and new. But why does it look like a 1940s road checker? After all, Infiniti doesn't have a mid-20th century racing history because it was a brand created in 1989. Alfonso Albaisa, Infiniti's Senior Vice President of Global Design, says the Prototype 9's look was inspired by the fantasy of chancing upon an unrecognized race car, hidden away for decades in a barn, deep in the Japanese countryside. Therefore, it bears a heavy resemblance to the German and Italian race cars from the 1930s and 40s, even if Infinity's designers in Japan try to infuse cues from the brand's production cars in the front and sides. While the Infiniti Prototype 9 is a beautiful recreation of what the 1940s racing scene may have looked like if they'd been around to build a car, don't expect to be able to ever buy one. Yet, the technology underneath is destined for a Nissan dealership very soon.